That's closer, but about one ring out, so right a bit more.
The Falkland Islands maintain its own part-time volunteer force, known as the FIDF. The Falkland Islands Defence Force is organised as a light infantry company, following the British Army doctrine, training and operations, with alliances to the Royal Marines and the Yorkshire Regiment. 2020 marks 100 years of the FIDF after forming following the climax of the First World War in 1920, taking the reins from its predecessor the Falklands Volunteer Force and the Militia Force.
The first force was called the Militia Force, which was created in 1847 by Governor Moody, and it was most likely created because there was no police force on the islands. There was no way of policing the people here, so it was probably used as kind of how to police people on the islands. But then in 1892 there was the Chilean Civil War. Governor Goldsworthy thought there would be a risk to the security of the islands, and when a ship came in from the Revolutionary Party, they requested permission to anchor in Port William, and they had a lot of soldiers on board. So Governor Goldsworthy thought it would be necessary to create a defending force, and then on 13th of June, 37 members were sworn in at Government House, and that's how the defending force was created then. At the end of World War I in 1919, the FIVs were stood down and an ordinance was put through to establish the FIDF force as we know it today, which went into effect on the 13th of December 1920.
A significant period was during World War II, as the islands were perceived to be threatened from invasion from the Axis forces. A military base at Benneck's Paddock was erected, comprising of men from the 11th Battalion of the West Yorkshire Regiment. The invasion never came, and in 1944 the West Yorkshire Regiment departed to assist in the European theatre, and the FIDF joined as well.
It was about 150 men of the FIDF went overseas from here to fight with the armed forces, and kind of joined every service, RAF, Navy, all of them, and went all over the place. Some were like Battle of Britain, they fought in a lot of the big wars. We've got a brilliant diary as part of the display which belonged to Wallace Hurtle, who was a member of the FIDF. He was a sergeant in the FIDF, and he was tasked with writing down all of the movements that were made by the FIDF during World War II. Out of the 150 that went, 24 men didn't return, and they are remembered on the Cross of Sacrifice.
The force comprises mainly of local Falkland Islanders, to which their specialist knowledge of the local terrain became valuable during the 1982 Falklands conflict for the liberating British forces. After the conflict, the FIDF saw a major resurgence.
FIDF clearly had a role. The force was mobilised on the 1st of April 1982 in response to the impending invasion by Argentine forces. 32 men of the FIDF responded to that call out. During the early hours of the 2nd of April, Sir Rex Hunt, the governor, ordered them back to the HQ as the Argentines invaded. And subsequently, FIDF members were, some were placed under house arrest and taken away to Fox Bay under armed guard, and they were locked up there for the remainder of the war. Other members of the FIDF contributed to supporting British forces as they made their way across the islands. The FIDF lost all of its equipment. Some of it was confiscated, taken back to Argentina, some was just destroyed as part of the conflict. So it wasn't until 1983 that the FIDF was re-equipped with new equipment from the UK and really reformed post-conflict.
To celebrate the 100-year anniversary, a public event was put on to showcase the history of the force and the contribution made throughout the years. Looking ahead into the future, there is a major investment programme.
So we've seen a major investment programme, lots of new equipment. We've carried out more standardisation of equipment, so we use some equipment that was different to British forces now is identical. And also we've started to really develop the interworking between FIDF and BIFSI. It's always been very good, but it's really gone up to a new level in the last couple of years. Always keen to recruit, but also we've sent people away to defence shows to understand where military and security technology and equipment is going. And also we've started a programme of much greater integration in terms of training. So clearly we have that utmost respect for the men and women that have served in the FIDF before us. I think with the modern FIDF is a really vibrant organisation that's really got made some progress, and we're very keen to continue that for another 100 years. So very much encourage young people in the Falklands to consider coming along and joining us in March when we do our next recruiting phase.